Good evening, this is Maestro Cortello with a Dawn of War 2 Retribution Elite Modcast. We have, on the blue side here, on this map, Golgotha Depths, Team Double Warboss. Our first Warboss is For7une. He's the one who submitted this replay. Our other Warboss is Excalibur, the famous Sword of Legend, fantastic player. And today, these two Warbosses are up against none other than Holyhammer as the Warp Spider Exarch, a teleporting commander. We also have Blessed Spartan as the Force commander. So, before we start out, I'd just like to thank anyone recently who has submitted replays to me. It's very much appreciated. I apologize if I have been a little slow to cast them all, and certainly apologize if I have let any fall to the wayside. I'm trying my best to get as many up as I can, and I'm kind of going to go on a rampage and try to do as many of these submitted replays in addition to the replays that I have myself acquired. Anyway, so we have Team Double Warboss. Warboss is, in my opinion, a very good commander. In my opinion, actually, I'd say he's one of the best commanders. I don't know about the best, but one of the best. Just another one of those tanky melee heroes. I kind of think the tanky melee heroes are better, are among the better commanders. The Warboss in particular has some pretty good stuff, just both for what he can do himself, certainly once he has upgrades, as well as what he can do with his other squads, with his globals. Looks like For7une is kind of winning his lane against Blessed Spartan. Blessed Spartan, however, is taking advantage of the numerous garrisons on this map to keep this squad in here. A scout like a scout squad, which without the garrison can't stand up to any of these squads. It couldn't even stand up to a single shooter squad by itself. And obviously For7une can tell, or I mean, of course he can tell. Since he sees that Blessed Spartan is taking advantage of the garrisons as much as he can, he makes flamers or burnas on his slug as the very first purchase that he gets. Looks like Red Team has kind of taken a bit of an early map control advantage. Well, they had an early VP lead. Right now it's 500 to 462 in Red Team's favor, probably courtesy of Holyhammer's Warp Spider Exarch, but now the map control is definitely going back in favor of the blue team. Blue team, the interesting thing about this map, Golgotha Depths, is that both teams only have one natural power farm, or one natural power node. Both of the other power nodes are contested. There's this one right here, and there's also this one right here. And both right now are in favor of blue, although it looks like Blessed Spartan is about to get this one. Or not. He's kind of just running past. I'm not entirely sure why he's doing that, although now he seems to have realized that he should stop doing that. Blessed Spartan also has a very interesting build, one that I've hardly ever seen. He has a scout squad. He got 2 tacks and then another scout squad. Meanwhile, it looks like Holyhammer is bleeding up here against Texanius, but Texanius is getting dangerously close to that Guardian weapon team with his Warboss. Suppression teams will, of course, do more damage the closer you get to them. I'm guessing what Tex was trying to do there was to kind of split his forces so that the Guardian weapon team would only suppress one unit while the others didn't get suppressed. So I think he was trying to draw fire with his shooters and then close for melee with the Warboss. But it looked like in the end, Holyhammer caught on to what Tex was doing and had the Guardian weapon team focus the Warboss. And now the shooter is going to get wiped, I think. Yes. Ooh, that last one got gibbed. A very early wipe. A combination of having those shooters in the garrison, having them run out, and then you just had Banshees right there, which are easily one of the best retreat killers in the game. So we have an early wipe from Holyhammer. On the other side, we do have this massive early tier 1 from Blessed Spartan. It's not only a very long tier 1, but it's impressive how he managed to get 5 units out this quickly. Part of that has to do with the fact that this particular configuration of tier 1 units is very cheap on power. Obviously, he's got the 2 scouts and the 2 tacks, which cost no power whatsoever, and he's apparently getting a 3rd scout for some reason. Devastators, he does have that suppression team. Tex, and that's going to be helpful against Tex since Tex went for double sluggers. Tex also has a suppression team of his own. Oh, but I'm sorry. I'm making a mistake now. This is For7une over in this lane. And that suppression team is definitely going to be good against For7une's forces in this single lane. That being said, For7une already upgraded to the boss pole. Gives his boys a little more health, so long as they're right near the Warboss. And it's actually mostly been a fight over power nodes. Holyhammer really settling into this power node over here. He actually was able to destroy the node, get the decap, or he's getting the decap right now, but he needs to retreat his Dire Avengers before they get wiped. The Warp Spider Exarch himself does get that decap off, and only the decap, already low on health. Now finally fighting's going down in the middle, and it looks like this... Ooh, we have Ard Boys going down on the Sluggers. I think he was going to try to get them to go close to the Guardian Weapon Team. And the Guardian Weapon Team right now, it finally gets charged. Eventually, kind of just... Looks like Tex right there was actually kind of just... Or both players were actually just kind of running through all that ranged fire, taking whatever losses they took. But just through sheer numbers, through sheer orky numbers, they were actually able to close in on that Guardian Weapon Team. These Sluggers right here do not care about the fact that there's a suppression team at all. They may get wiped, though, and it looks like they will just about get out of there. But they took so many losses. And, oh, they actually do get wiped. I guess just the range fire from these scouts and the attacks. I thought they were okay once they had gotten past the Devastators and started retreating. Dire Avengers right here in a ton of trouble, though. Throw a grenade, but I think they just took too many losses unnecessarily there, ultimately for nothing. And this Guardian Weapon Team, it actually, I was going to say it seems out of position, but it does manage to set up in a good firing arc against all these shooter boys. Orcs, I think orcs are good in teams. I mean, all of the races in this game are pretty good. Certainly, there are always people complaining. It's like, oh, Imperial Guard's not that good. Chaos is too good. Space Marine too good, all that stuff, but I think all of the races in this game are really good. I'm not going to say that they're all equal, but they're all really good. They all have so many powerful things they can do. For orcs are such a high DPS race. They start out with that early range DPS from the shooter boys. They also have just the DPS of Sluggers. Even though Sluggers are kind of weak, they really do a ton of damage, especially in Tier 2 once they've been upgraded to have a knob. Sluggers are going to be very vulnerable to these Guardian Weapon Teams or any suppression teams. And I want you to look at Blessed Spartan's build. This is the most atypical Space Marine build I have ever seen. He's got 3 scouts, 2 attacks, a regular Devastator, and he's getting a Plasma Cannon Devastator. And this build is really interesting. And, you know, on paper, there are a lot of good things about it. First of all, it gives him a lot of emergency AV. He can get a las cannon on the Devastator, or he can get rockets on the Tax. So if either of these players decides to get a vehicle, I mean, Blessed Spartan has plenty of things he can upgrade to AV. And is this Slugger knob going to go down? That would be really sad, and I'm afraid it does. That Slugger from Tex goes down. Back to Blessed Spartan's build, it also prepares him for a lot of anti-melee, whether it's shotguns on the scouts or just the suppression of the Devastator. And it's, of course, great anti-infantry just because it's going to be a lot of DPS coming from all of these units, especially from that Plasma Cannon Devastator and now Assault Marines. Blessed Spartan right now, we can't even see how many units he has on this unit tab, because the unit tab will only display up to 6 units. And most of the time, you rarely have more than 6 units. Blessed Spartan has 8 already, and his Force Commander decides to actually get a sniper on this scout squad right here. And this Devastator seems to be suppressing something. Oh, it's suppressing the Warboss. And this is actually going to give Blessed Spartan enormous field presence. He actually has more units than everyone on the blue team combined. It's actually really ridiculous, and I can't believe it. It's really interesting. We have Tier 2 purchases from all players, it seems, except for Blessed Spartan. He's only rocking that Tier 1 army. Blessed Spartan, Tex has this War Truck. He's also got the Weird Boy. For7une's got the Weird Boy, as well as a Death Dread coming out. Although, as I said, I don't know how effective that will be against Blessed Spartan. Right now, Blessed Spartan does not have any AV weapons, but he can easily upgrade most of his units to AV weapons. He can get melt-a-bombs on the assault marines. He can get missile launchers on the tanks. Everything. The only, or not the only, but the main disadvantage of Blessed Spartan's build that I can tell right now is just the fact that it's going to take a lot of micro to keep everything alive, and also just to make everything worthwhile. I mean, if you have units standing around doing nothing, it's not any better than not even having that unit at all. And all of the fighting has been brought over to this side. Holyhammer has his main tier 2 purchase, this Wraithlord with the Shuriken Cannon. He also has 2 suppression teams. I also like the position of this setup team, since it's something it's going to be very difficult to flank, since it's on that ridge or that cliff, whatever you want to call it. Blessed Spartan, I feel like he is taking a lot of bleed though, and is he going to lose that scout squad? One scout squad just barely gets out of there with 2 health. And we have right here Tex trying to get the decap on that middle victory point. Unfortunately, there was that suppression team right there. Blessed Spartan saying, Orcs Imba. The funny thing is that he has about as many Space Marines as there are Orcs. And now we have a charge from the Death Dread, actually getting a flank on that Guardian Weapon team. It does a ton of damage with every hit, in part because Holyhammer had already retreated, so he was taking bonus damage. And the red team has also been not really had the power. I wonder if that's actually why Blessed Spartan went for the build that he did. It was a very minimal power build, certainly for a while. He may be starting to invest in power upgrades for his units. He does have a sniper rifle on 1 scout squad, 2 rocket launchers. 2 rocket launchers. Where are those rocket attacks? And he's getting... Wow, we're going to get a wipe on that Warboss easily. And he's getting those rocket launchers, those double rocket launchers for that Death Dread. But what I can't believe is that he just... he did that full retreat. It sounds like it was a mistake, because he said, the heck, probably a mistake from Blessed Spartan. Considering I thought he was in a pretty good situation there. Although, I don't know how well he would have done against the Shudas, but I mean, with 2 rocket attacks, he could actually threaten to wipe that Death Dread, especially since back then, the Death Dread did not have the Burners and Bits upgrade, only had 650 health. Now it does have Burners and Bits. It now has 1050 health. It's going to be a lot more tanky. And blue team do have more victory points now, but they have 2 victory points, but they're lower on the victory point counter. It is 357 to 282 in favor of the red team. Holyhammer looks like he's about to get doubled right here, though. That Death Dread chasing down his infantry, and he's actually using his Wraithlord to chase down Fortune's infantry. I think he kind of needs to focus on this Wraithlord. The Wraithlord will definitely just straight up beat the Death Dread. It certainly has more health, and I think it does more damage as well. The only problem is that now this Wraithlord cannot overextend with getting hit by all these rockets. And we have a lot of... Oh, man, I don't even know how this war truck is going to stay alive with 2 rocket attacks. If those rocket attacks turn around, 2 missiles hit, that should be a dead war truck. So this double rocket attack build, it's certainly not a very common thing you see. Some people often complain that if you get 2 rocket attacks, or if you get a rocket attack period, you're kind of sacrificing the anti-infantry capabilities of your attack squad. And to some extent that's true, and to some extent it's not. You lose 1 infantry bolter, you lose 1 bolter, but you still have 2 models, and those 2 models on the attack squad that still have bolters will do more than a single scout squad. And you can even get the sergeant, and with a sergeant, even if you have a rocket on your attack squad, the sergeant's bolter will actually bring the infantry DPS back to its original values, actually slightly better. Oh, and this sniper scout squad almost going to go down. Warboss maybe going to get a hit on it. Warboss good for pursuing. Goes pretty fast on his charge, but now getting suppressed. And wow! That was a squad wipe right there. And I actually have no idea where Blessed Spartan's units went. Unfortunately, he had that huge tier 1 build, and he's already lost quite a few of those units. Maybe he never actually got the Plasma Cannon Devastator. I think maybe he Instead of getting that Plasma Cannon Devastator, he got ASM, but those ASMs, that ASM squad is already gone. And I know he had those ASM because I saw them on the field. We got Truck Bustas, Bustas in a truck, and another War Truck from Tex. The War Truck is not as cheap in Elite Mod as it is in retail, but it is still by a pretty big margin the cheapest transport in the game, although it is a little more expensive now that it has been upgraded to extra armor, or reinforced plating as it's called. Sluggo Boys force a retreat, and certainly Sluggo Boys, you do have to be careful using your Space Marine units against Sluggo Boys, because if Sluggo Boys get in melee range, they can seriously threaten to wipe any Space Marine unit, whether it's Tax, especially Devastators. If they can actually get in the range of a Devastator and start meleeing it, there's a pretty good chance that they will wipe that squad. Devastators, of course, have heavy armor, but do not have as much HP as Tax. And Devastators also do not have melee resistance, which both Tax and Scouts have. And now we have Terminators already. Terminators. I didn't even realize that Blessed Spartan was already in Tier 3. Holyhammer is now in Tier 3. For7une is getting to Tier 3. Tex has the resources to go to Tier 3, but has not pressed the button. And these Terminators, oh my god, this is actually a really bad situation. Terminators are going to lose a model here, I think. Unfortunately, kind of a poor management of Terminators by Blessed Spartan. They're already on really low health, and wow, I like using that Rocket Barrage as anti-blob disruption, especially on the Devastator. And the Orc players are really pushing up right into Spartan's base. Spartan, despite having that big army, and Spartan also loses another Scout squad. So right now Spartan has lost 2 Scout squads and an ASM squad. So that... And he also lost one of those Terminators. So Terminators, certainly, obviously a great unit. If he's going to get ranged Terminators, he needs to keep them really far away. And they will do great against the Orcs as long as he keeps the units out of melee with those Terminators, because they do about 100 DPS with their Storm Bolters. They're going to kill Shooter Boy models really quickly while taking very little damage from the Shooter Boys, even from 2, just because they have such resistance from the super heavy infantry armor to those piercing shooters. The main thing that Blessed Spartan has done well is that his Devastator has, although it's still only level 1, he's actually getting a lot of good suppression on that. Definitely controlling war bosses very well, and they really need to control war bosses. The war boss, it's tough enough dealing with one war boss. So it's you need something. It's even harder to deal with 2. And Blessed Spartan has been managing to control the war bosses pretty well. I think he's just been having a little trouble with that huge build where I think he had 7 units, not 8. He also has the Sacred Standard. It's actually the only upgrade he has on his Force Commander. He might want to get something else too. Right now he's very short on resources. The Sacred Standard won't do much to make the Force Commander better, but it will make all of his other units better. It's certainly going to be helpful for the Terminators, which are actually already do a ton of damage. Space Marines in general are a low DPS race, but Terminators are one of the main exceptions to that. Terminators do a lot of damage, and as it is, the Sacred Standard is going to help to make the regular Space Marine units do good damage, and then the Terminators, which already do a ton of damage, are going to do even better damage. And unfortunately, it looks like this Devastator from Blessed Spartan does get wiped. Very sad, considering how well it was doing for him. Foot of Gork. It's actually the second Foot of Gork we've seen. Foot of Gork is an ability from the Weird Boy. It's actually kind of like a nuke. The only problem is that it costs a ton of energy. You can't use it that often, and most players who are paying attention will just move out of the way of it. It does not have a huge area of effect like the actual global nukes. And these Terminators right there, they used Cleansing Flame on the Heavy Flamer, scaring off a bunch of Shooter Boys, taking out a ton of models on those Shooter Boys. Both Shooter Squads, or yeah, only 3 Shooter models in total. And now Red is the one pushing up. They've got a significant VP lead, and they've really pushed up. basically into the natural victory point for the blue team. And now we have a lot of tier 3 buys coming out. So before, Blessed Spartan had more units than everyone on the blue team combined, and that's not really the case anymore. Right now, the blue team is actually going to have a ton of units, while the red team will not have that many. That being said, we already have flash kits out for Texcalibur. They right now are currently being kept with their starting Shudas. They do not have the Blastas yet. The Blastas would be the Shudas, the flash kit Shudas will be good enough against the... Oh! And there's a big over there from the Weird Boy. Or it was, yeah, that was an over there from the Weird Boy. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why he was over daring Shudas into a Wraith Lord. It's not that good of a choice. Maybe we're going to get some truck busters coming out of this truck. Or this truck is going to go down. It is going to go down. It cannot survive. It's going to get chopped by something. Singularity goes off, pulls in the Warboss. Another war truck goes down. But Tex with the double flash kits build. Neither flash kits squad has the Blastas. So Blastas... Oh, wow, he's actually using use your choppas on the Sluggas, trying to kill that Wraith Lord just through sheer damage. Sluggas do a lot of damage. They only do regular melee type damage except for the knob. But just with that much damage and then getting buffed with use your choppas can definitely do some damage to this Wraith Lord. The Wraith Lord did get saved a bit by this Fire Prism. Fire Prism is a fantastic unit, to be honest. It's certainly very squishy, requires micro, but it can really pay dividends if you use it properly. Holyhammer's Wraith Lord goes down, kind of walks up a little too far into these tank busters. Now we have a barrage. Ultimately does not hit anything. Holyhammer is certainly microing his Fire Prism, but I think he's having trouble keeping up with the offensive power of these orcs. So many orcs, not enough Eldar, really. And apparently we have 3 flash kits from Texcalibur. These flash kits, still no Blastas, and Tex, or no, For7une being really aggressive right now, pushing up a little bit into Holyhammer's base. Holyhammer knows that his Fire Prism is in trouble, moves it behind his own base. For7une calls for a revive on his Warboss. This Force Commander still no war gear upgrades. I'm wondering why. I'm guessing that Blessed Spartan is saving up for more Terminators. His Force Commander is not going to do... It doesn't scale that well without upgrades. I mean, it'll still be fine. It can still tie things up. The Force Commander is still tanky, but the Force Commander can just do such great damage with any upgraded weapon. I mean, even if he had the Power Sword, that would be way better than what he's got now. And then any armor. I wonder if maybe he wants to get Terminator armor. And then finally we have knobs. Knobs from For7une. And you know what? I was kind of saying the Twin Link Shudas on the flash kits would be okay, would be good against the Eldar, maybe not as good against the Space Marines, but I mean with 3 flash kit squads, they'll be good against the Space Marines anyway, just because there's so many of them. It's more of an Orkier style. Just too many Shudas, lots of DACA. Eldritch Storm goes off right here, gets a snare. Wow. So that Eldritch Storm used as AV on the battle wagon. Eldritch Storm is actually really good AV. It's probably the best AV nuke. And right there, oh, and the Singularity goes off. So that Eldritch Storm, good AV nuke, especially good if you use a Haywire with it too. The battle wagon actually used the charge to kind of get away from the nuke. And yes, Blessed Spartan kind of did what I thought he would, which is he got another Assault Terminator squad. We now have another Foot of Gork. Ultimately misses everything, and again, that's the disadvantage of Foot of Gork. Those Terminators were just right there, but even as slow as Terminators were, they could just walk out of there, and the Force Commander is down for Blessed Spartan. Gonna make his units do a ton of damage, but these Terminators are dead. I don't know if they've already used their teleport. If they haven't, they're dead, which is very sad. Oh, and there they go. I thought they were going to get saved by that Fire Prism Blast, but then that shot, that big shot from the Battle Wagon, took out that last Terminator model. So right now, the red team has had a victory point lead for most of this game. And we have Knobs right here, kind of doing a little dance, doing some Gangnam style, but they do get stopped. They do get stopped by phase shifts from the Warp Spider Exarch, the only piece of war gear that Holyhammer has on his Warp Spider Exarch. Meanwhile, we have Warbosses who are a little bit kitted out. We got Fortune's Warboss with the Power Claw, a really good weapon. No abilities or anything, but it's 95 DPS power melee. You really can't complain about that. Also got that Boss Pole, which I highlighted much earlier. Tex is rocking the same thing, except he also has the heavy armor. Basically doubles the Warboss's health, even more so now that this Warboss is at level 6. Fortune's is only at level 4, but still going to be pretty threatening. So red team has had that VP lead, but the blue team certainly has that army lead. Oh my god. Warp Spider Exarch does get that revive on the Force Commander. Warp Spider Exarch actually level 6. It actually wouldn't be that bad of an idea to put the improved targeters on the Warp Spider Exarch, as well as maybe the weapon that actually increases his DPS. I forget which one it is. It's not the heavy gauge Death Spinner. It's the other one. Just because then at level 6 that Warp Spider Exarch would be doing pretty good range DPS, would be pretty good at bleeding these Shooter Boy models. And these, oh man, these attacks staying in a little bit too long, really going for that cap. Blessed Spartan worried about the VPs now, but he's losing tack models because of it, and Blessed Spartan cannot afford to replace too many tacks. He's already got 3 that he's going to need to replace, and he only has about as much requisition to replace only those 3 tacks. We even have a level 4 Weird Boy, has a Warp Head. That's what's giving it that ability. We're seeing a lot of Warp Vomit from him, but unfortunately I think a misuse of that Warp Vomit. Should have used it on some actual melee units like these Howling Banshees. Predator out for Blessed Spartan. Predator tank, pretty good, versatile tank. Tanks good because tanks are good because they're anti-everything. They're anti-vehicle, anti-infantry. They're also a vehicle themselves, so they carry the threat of being a vehicle to your opponent, meaning it's forcing him to get some kind of anti-vehicle. This Warboss in a little bit of trouble, does a stomp, gonna retreat out of there, and now I think the Banshees, wow, those Banshees went down really fast under all the range fire from those Flash Kits. These Flash Kits, look at how fast they are. Flash Kits chasing down the Predator and kind of doing nothing. They would do something if they had Blastas. Oh, but these Knobs under Warpath also coming in there. Really good use of Warpath. That must be Tex. Yeah, that's Tex. That's that superior experience that Tex has from putting so many hours into this game, being such a smart player. It's been quite a crazy game so far. And these Assault Terminators, they cannot stand up to all these orcs. I mean, as it is, I think Knobs with huge hammers will actually beat Assault Terminators. And right now, they're also getting support from a ton of other things. And at this point, I think Blessed Spartan is kind of maybe somewhat done. Throw something in there. Just a drop pod. I'm not sure why. Drop pod. I don't know how many tack models he had to reinforce there. And Blessed Spartan's army looking really thin now. Certainly much thinner than his original build with those 3 scouts, 2 tacks, the Devastator, as well as that ASM squad. And it looks like this game is going in favor of the blue team. We had certainly a proper WA, a huge mass of orcs, and of course, the Death Rolla. Double fire prisms from Holyhammer, getting hit by that big shot. And there is the game. Quite a crazy 2v2. Again, this was something from For7une. Just want to remind you guys, I'm going to try to cast as many of your user-submitted replays as I can. I apologize if they take forever to get put up. I really appreciate it, though, and I hope you enjoyed the game. Have a good night.